What most people misunderstand about the empath's aura, why animals and babies stare at you, is that it has nothing to do with mysticism, energy fields, or being spiritually gifted. It has everything to do with something far more scientific, far more primal, and far more powerful than most people are ever taught. Here is what's actually happening. Babies and animals share one extraordinary ability that most adults have lost: they cannot read words. They cannot process social masks, and they have zero capacity for polite pretending. They respond to only one thing: what is real? They are, in the purest sense, lie detectors with no agenda. So when a baby locks eyes with you across a crowded room and won't look away, it is not random. When a dog walks past 10 strangers and sits down beside you without invitation, that is not coincidence. These creatures are detecting something in your nervous system that you are broadcasting without knowing it. And here is the psychological truth that changes everything. Your body is always transmitting a signal. Every human being walks through life sending out a constant, invisible broadcast made up of micro-expressions, breathing patterns, muscle tension, eye movement, and subtle shifts in posture. Most people's signals are noisy, cluttered, full of social performance and suppressed emotion. But an empath signal, a truly regulated, deeply present human being, is something entirely different. It is clean. It is coherent. And to a baby or an animal, that coherence feels like safety, like stillness in a storm. This is not about being special. This is about nervous system regulation. This is about presence. And once you understand what that signal actually is and where it comes from, you will never see human connection, trust, or influence the same way again. Let's start with what's actually happening in that moment when a baby across the room locks eyes with you and simply will not look away. Or when a dog you've never met walks straight to you, ignoring everyone else in the space. Most people laugh it off. They say things like, "Animals just like me," or "Babies always do that." But that explanation is too easy. It skips over something genuinely fascinating about how living creatures process the world around them. Babies, in their first months of life, have no language. They have no framework for status, no understanding of how attractive you are, no awareness of what job you hold or how confident you seem on the surface. They cannot be impressed by what you say. They are completely blind to your social mask. What they are not blind to is your body, your breathing, the tension in your face, the way your eyes move, the rhythm of your presence. Animals operate from the same place. A dog is not reading your words. It is reading your body as a continuous, unbroken signal. Every twitch of your muscle, every shift in your weight, every unconscious change in your breath, the animal is processing all of it in real time, building a complete picture of what is happening inside you. And here is the critical insight. Both babies and animals are essentially scanning for safety. Their nervous systems are wired at the deepest biological level to ask one question about every creature they encounter. Is this safe? Not safe in a conceptual way. Not safe based on what you promise or perform. Safe based on what your body is actually doing right now in this moment without your permission. This is where neuroscience becomes deeply personal. The human nervous system operates in two broad states. One is a state of regulation, calm, present, grounded, open. The other is dysregulation, anxious, defended, performing, suppressed. And here is what most people never realize. You cannot fully hide which state you are in. You can hide it from other adults because adults have learned to fill in the gaps with social assumptions, polite interpretations, and their own projections. But you cannot hide it from a creature that has none of those filters. When your nervous system is genuinely regulated, your body sends a coherent signal. Your breathing is steady. Your facial muscles are relaxed in a way that cannot be faked for long. Your eye contact is soft rather than effortful. Your stillness is real, not performed. And to a baby or an animal, that coherence reads as something unmistakable. It reads as trustworthy. It reads as safe. What they are detecting is not your personality. It is not your intentions. It is the actual state of your autonomic nervous system, the part of you that runs beneath conscious thought, beneath social strategy, beneath everything you choose to present to the world. It is the part of you that tells the truth even when your face does not. This is also why some people can walk into a room, say very little, and still hold the quiet attention of everyone present. Not because of charisma in the conventional sense, not because of looks or authority, but because their nervous system is broadcasting something coherent, something settled, something real. Babies feel it, animals feel it, and on some level adults feel it too. They just lack the language to explain why certain people make them feel immediately calm and trusted. What babies and animals are doing is not mysterious. They are doing exactly what every nervous system on Earth is designed to do: scan the environment for genuine safety, cut through noise, and move toward whatever signal feels most real. The difference is they are still honest enough to follow it. Let's talk about why most adults have lost something they were born with. When you watch a toddler in a room full of strangers, they are completely unfiltered. They stare openly. They move toward what feels good and away from what doesn't. They have no rehearsed response, no social script, no performance running in the background. Their nervous system is doing exactly what it was designed to do: respond honestly to the world as it actually is. Then something happens. Slowly, over years, the world begins to teach them a different lesson. Stop staring. Be polite. Sit still. Don't show that. Don't say that. Smile even when you don't feel like it. And what begins as social education quietly becomes something else. It becomes the systematic suppression of honest signal. By the time most people reach adulthood, they have spent decades learning to perform rather than feel, to manage their expression rather than express what is real, to hold tension in the body so that nothing uncomfortable leaks out. And all of that suppression, all of that management, all of that carefully constructed social presentation, it creates noise. Deep, constant, biological noise. This is not a character flaw. It is not weakness. It is what happens to almost every human being who grows up inside a social world that rewards composure over authenticity. The problem is not that people learn to be polite. The problem is that over time, the performance becomes the default. The mask stops being something you put on and starts being something you forget you are wearing. And your nervous system pays the price for that. When you chronically suppress emotion, your body does not actually release it. It stores it. Tension accumulates in the jaw, the shoulders, the chest, the gut. Breathing becomes shallower without you noticing. Eye contact becomes either avoidant or overcompensating, too little or too much, never quite natural. Your resting facial expression carries the ghost of everything you are holding back, even when you believe your face is neutral. This is what creates a noisy signal. Not noise in the sense of being loud or aggressive. Noise in the sense of incongruence, your body saying one thing while your nervous system is experiencing another. And that gap, that space between what you perform and what you actually feel, is exactly what babies and animals detect and instinctively move away from. It is not that they sense something bad in you. It is that they sense something unresolved, something that does not quite add up. And every creature wired for survival knows that incongruence is unpredictable. Unpredictable means unsafe. So they pull back, they look away, they remain neutral, not out of judgment, but out of pure biological honesty. Most adults move through life completely unaware that this is happening. They wonder why certain interactions feel exhausting, why they can sense that someone does not fully trust them even when the conversation seemed fine, why they feel invisible in rooms where they are trying hardest to be seen. The answer is almost always the same. The effort itself is the problem. The trying is the noise. Because here is what suppression and performance cost you beyond energy and authenticity. They cost you presence. And presence is the one thing that cannot be manufactured. You can rehearse confidence. You can practice body language. You can study influence and persuasion and communication until you can recite every principle from memory. But if your nervous system is running a background program of unprocessed emotion and chronic self-management, every single one of those techniques will feel slightly hollow to the people around you. They will not know why. They will not be able to articulate it. But something in them will hesitate. The signal you send is only as clean as the life you are willing to actually feel. Think about the last time you were in the presence of someone who made you feel immediately calm. You did not know why. They may not have said anything particularly profound. They were not performing warmth or trying to put you at ease. But something about being near them settled something inside you, like a room suddenly becoming quieter without anyone closing a door. That is not charm. That is not charisma in the way most people define it. What you were experiencing was the effect of a coherent nervous system on your own. And it is one of the most powerful, least understood forces in all of human interaction. Here is what coherence actually means on a biological level. It means that what is happening inside a person matches what is visible on the outside. There is no gap, no performance running beneath the surface, no suppressed signal creating static in the body. The breath is steady because the person is actually calm, not because they are trying to appear calm. The eyes are soft because there is genuine presence behind them, not because they have practiced a softer gaze. Every signal the body sends is coming from the same source, and that source is real. Your nervous system and every nervous system around you is constantly performing what scientists call co-regulation. This is not a metaphor. It is a measurable biological process. Human beings are wired to synchronize with the nervous systems of people in their immediate environment. Your heart rate, your breathing pattern, your level of muscular tension, all of these are subtly influenced by the physiological state of whoever is closest to you. This is why sitting next to an anxious person on a flight can make you feel uneasy without a single word being exchanged. And it is why sitting beside a truly grounded person can dissolve tension you did not even know you were carrying. Babies live entirely inside this process. They have no cognitive override for it. When a regulated nervous system enters their environment, their own system responds to it the way a tuning fork responds to its matching frequency. It resonates, it settles, it feels like home. This is why a calm presence can stop a crying baby when nothing else works, not because of technique, but because of transmission. Animals operate from exactly the same mechanism. A horse that will not let most people approach will stand completely still for someone whose nervous system is genuinely quiet. A dog that is reactive and anxious around strangers will lay its head in the lap of someone broadcasting coherent calm. They are not making a decision in the way humans make decisions. They are responding to a signal at the level of pure biology. Now here is what makes this profound beyond the realm of animals and infants. Genuine attunement, the ability to be fully present with another living thing without an internal agenda running in the background, is extraordinarily rare in adult human interaction. Most conversations are not true exchanges. They are two people waiting for their turn to speak, managing how they are perceived, processing their own internal noise while nodding at the appropriate moments. Real attunement means your attention is not split. It means the person in front of you is not competing with your thoughts, your self-monitoring, or your need to be seen in a particular way. When someone experiences that kind of attention, even briefly, it is disarming in the deepest sense of the word. Not disarming as in vulnerable or exposed disarming, as in they no longer need their defenses. Something in them recognizes below conscious thought that they are in the presence of something safe, something real, something that is not trying to take anything from them. That recognition does not come from what you say. It does not come from technique or training or a perfectly chosen word. It comes from the quality of your inner silence. Everything covered so far might sound like something you either have or you don't. Like a trait you were born with. Some people simply came into the world more regulated, more present, more attuned, and everyone else is left working with whatever they were given. That is not true, and that distinction matters enormously, because what we are really talking about here is a skill, a developable, trainable, deeply transformable capacity that lives inside your nervous system and responds directly to how you treat it. The first thing to understand is that nervous system regulation is not the same as being calm on the surface. A lot of people have learned to appear calm while their internal experience is anything but. They speak slowly, they hold still, they maintain eye contact, and underneath all of that, their system is running at a high frequency of unprocessed tension. That is performance. And as we have already established, performance creates noise. What we are building here is something different. We are building actual regulation, a resting state of the nervous system that is genuinely settled, not cosmetically arranged. The most direct path into that state begins with the breath. Not breathing exercises in the way most people imagine them, sitting cross-legged, counting to 4, following a structured technique. What actually shifts the nervous system is something simpler and more honest than that. It is developing the habit of noticing your breath without immediately trying to fix it, just observing. Because the moment you bring conscious, non-judgmental attention to your breathing, your autonomic nervous system begins to respond. The exhale naturally lengthens. The chest softens. The body interprets that quality of attention as a signal that the environment is safe enough to release. Do that consistently, across hundreds of ordinary moments, standing in a line, sitting in traffic, waiting for a conversation to begin, and over time your nervous system recalibrates its baseline. Your default state begins to shift from low-grade vigilance toward genuine ground. The second practice is learning to stay in your body during discomfort rather than leaving it. Most people, when emotional discomfort arises, do one of two things. They either express it immediately and loudly, or they push it down and pretend it is not there. Both of these are forms of abandoning the actual experience. What builds regulation is the capacity to feel discomfort fully, without immediately reacting to it or suppressing it. To notice where it lives in the body, the tightness in the throat, the heat in the chest, the weight behind the eyes, and simply remain present with it. This is not passive. It is one of the most demanding things a human being can practice. But every time you do it, you are expanding your nervous system's capacity to hold difficult experience without breaking into noise. The third element is reducing the gap between what you feel and what you allow yourself to express. Not in a way that removes social awareness or floods every conversation with unfiltered emotion, but in the small daily moments where you notice yourself performing a feeling rather than actually having it, a smile that is slightly too wide, an enthusiasm that is slightly too eager, an agreement that is slightly too fast, and you choose instead to be a little more honest. A little more still, a little more real. Each of these practices works on the same underlying mechanism. They teach your nervous system that it does not need to brace against reality. That presence is survivable, that the world does not require you to be constantly managed and defended and performed. And as that lesson becomes embodied, rather than just understood, something begins to change in how you move through spaces, how you enter conversations, how you exist in the presence of other people. You stop broadcasting noise, and what remains when the noise is gone is the only signal that has ever truly mattered: the quiet, unmistakable transmission of a human being who is actually here. Everything we have built across these four segments comes down to this final truth, and it is the one most people never connect to their daily lives, their relationships, their leadership, or the way they move through the world. The signal you broadcast is not just felt by babies and animals. It is felt by every human being you will ever meet. The difference is that adults have learned to talk themselves out of what they feel. They override the signal with logic, with social obligation, with the stories they tell themselves about who a person is supposed to be based on their title, their appearance, or their reputation. But the felt sense is always there, running beneath the surface of every interaction, shaping trust, connection, and influence in ways that no amount of technique can fully replace. Think about every leader you have ever encountered, not the ones who were most vocal, most authoritative, or most decorated with credentials. Think about the ones who made you feel like your presence in the room actually mattered. The ones whose attention, when it landed on you, felt complete rather than partial. The ones you would follow not because you had to, but because something in you simply trusted them before they ever proved themselves, before they gave you a single rational reason to. That trust was not built through strategy. It was transmitted through a nervous system that was genuinely regulated, genuinely present, and genuinely coherent. This is what real influence is made of, not persuasion tactics, not carefully engineered first impressions, not the right handshake or the practiced vocal tone. Those things exist on the surface, and people feel their surface quality. What moves people at depth, what creates loyalty, genuine connection, and the kind of trust that survives difficulty is the experience of being in the presence of someone who is actually real. And that realness has a biological signature. It co-regulates the people around you. It lowers their defenses without asking them to lower their defenses. It creates safety not as a concept, but as a physical experience, something felt in the body before it is understood by the mind. This is why certain people walk into conflict and de-escalate it without raising their voice. Why certain parents can calm a child with presence alone. Why certain colleagues change the energy of a meeting simply by being in it. They are not doing anything visible. They are transmitting something real. Now consider what this means for every relationship in your life. Romantic relationships, friendships, the dynamic between you and the people you work with every day. Every one of those relationships is being shaped beneath the level of words and actions by the quality of signal you are consistently broadcasting. People are deciding at a level below conscious thought how safe you are to be vulnerable with, how present you actually are when you say you are listening, whether the warmth you offer is coming from a real place or from a need to be seen as warm. They cannot always articulate what they are sensing, but they are sensing it, all of it, all the time. This is why developing your nervous system is not a self-help exercise. It is not about becoming more likable or more professionally effective, though both of those things will naturally follow. It is about becoming more honest at the level of your body, your breath, your presence, and your signal. It is about closing the gap between who you are and who you perform yourself to be and who you actually are. Until that gap becomes so small that the performance disappears entirely. When that happens, something remarkable occurs. You stop needing to try so hard. Rooms feel different when you enter them. Conversations go deeper faster. People trust you before they know why. Animals settle beside you. Babies find your face in a crowd and hold it. Not because you are special, because you are finally, fully, and unmistakably real, and in a world drowning in noise, there is nothing more rare, nothing more powerful, and nothing more deeply human than a signal that tells the truth.